Our first speaker is going to talk about the new advances in bio-inspired metaheuristics, where biological principles meet modern algorithmic approaches. The most progressive ideas on this topic, coming from the capital of Serbia, Belgrade. Let's welcome him, the Vice Rector for Scientific Research at the Department of Informatics and Computing of Singidunum University, Nebojša, Bačanin-Džakula, with the report Latest Advances in the Bio-Inspired Metaheuristics, Theoretical Insights and Practical Applications.
Okay, hello everybody. It's very nice being here. My name is Nebojša Bačanin-Džakula. I am from Serbia at Singidunum University. I work as the Vice Rector for Scientific Research at Singidunum University and Head of Applied AI Scientific Program. So today I'm going to give you a presentation on the topic Recent Advances in Bio-Inspired Metaheuristics, Theoretical Insights and Practical Applications. So we have many slides, so I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. So, okay, there's the second slide. So basically, this presentation is aimed towards showing some practical applications, which my research team and I were doing for many years, and all those research are published in scientific journals. So let's start with metaheuristics, which is the main topic of this. So metaheuristics are used for solving NP-hard challenges as optimization problems. And as we all know, optimization problems seek to minimize or maximize objective function. And the goal is to identify the global optimum. Here we practically focus our research on global optimization challenges, where we have many local optimus and one global optimus. So in this case, traditional deterministic algorithms are not able to obtain a practical solution in reasonable amount of time. That's why we should use metaheuristics. Metaheuristics are methods which approximate solutions, so they're able to generate satisfying solutions with a reasonable amount of time. And again, one more important thing, since machine learning and deep learning is a prominent research areas, in machine learning and deep learning we have a problem which is called hyperparameter tuning, meaning that each model should be adapted for a particular data set and the data. So in order to solve the hyperparameters optimization, which is NP-hard challenge in the nature, metaheuristics are good methods for solving this. Okay. Non-deterministic polynomial hard problems, again, are the problems which cannot be solved in a reasonable amount of computational time. That's why we can use metaheuristics. And specifically, again, in machine learning, we have hyperparameter tuning because each and every machine learning model has many hyperparameters that should be tuned, because each model should be adapted to a specific problem. And this is NP-hard challenge because we have a very vast search space. Okay, so I'm going to skip this. So one of the most commonly used in the literature NP-hard challenges is this traveling salesman problem you can see on this slide. And the characteristics of TSP challenge is so-called combinatorial explosion because if we have n instances, n cities, the n factorial permutations are in TSP, so it means that the search space becomes too large. And metaheuristics are good in solving this. But basically, when we talk about NP-hard challenges, we have two types of problems. One is combinatorial problems, like this traveling salesman problem. Another is global optimization problem, where the goal is to minimize or maximize some function with real numbers. Okay, again, metaheuristics are good for solving NP-hard challenges because they're very fast. They're able to generate approximate solution, meaning satisfying solution within a reasonable amount of computational time. So for solving NP-hard challenges, we're not able to use deterministic algorithms. These are the algorithms which for the same input always generate the same output. So we cannot do like the brute force like with these deterministic algorithms. That's why we use metaheuristics, which are able to find satisfying solution, but in a reasonable amount of computational time. Okay, there are many types of metaheuristics, and there are also many different taxonomies of metaheuristics we can find in the literature, but here is only one taxonomy. So metaheuristics can be trajectory-based, like simulated annealing, taboo search, and so on. And these are also known as the single solution metaheuristics because they work with only one solution. Then we have so-called population-based metaheuristics. The population-based metaheuristics are working with a population of solutions, and they're trying to iterate, to improve those solutions in so-called iterative process. And then they, at the end of iteration, which is set of iterations is called a run, they output the best solution. Some of representative examples of population-based metaheuristics are genetic algorithms, particle swarm optimization, variational neighborhood search, and so on. These are well-known metaheuristics. And finally, one of my favorite types of metaheuristics are bio-inspired metaheuristics. Bio-inspired metaheuristics are inspired by the nature. So nature is wonderful. In the nature, we have wonders. So the researchers were thinking that if we are taking some principles from the nature and incorporating into artificial algorithms, that we can make something good. And they were right. So that's how the field of bio-inspired or nature-inspired metaheuristics emerged. So when we talk about the bio-inspired metaheuristics, we can divide those methods into two groups. First is evolutionary computation. The most prominent example is genetic algorithms, genetic programming. And then we have so-called swarm intelligence with many examples, like particle swarm optimization, ant column optimization, BAT algorithm, firefly algorithm, cuckoo search algorithm, whale optimization algorithm, Harris-Cox optimization, and so on. And my research team and I were working with all those types of metaheuristics. We're trying to improve them. And currently, we are working on our own metaheuristics, which will combine successful components like exploitation, exploration mechanisms from these different metaheuristics. But there is also criticism about the nature-inspired metaheuristics, and if I have time at the end of this presentation, I will tell you what are critics about these metaheuristics. Okay, so these are examples. Okay, now I'm going to show you some practical research, and this research was done by my research team and I, and all those research is published in state-of-the-art journals. Okay, so this research focuses on hyperparameters tuning of machine learning. As we all know, one of the most, rapidly development area of AI is machine and deep learning. And as I mentioned, there is a problem of hyperparameters tuning because in machine and deep learning we have so-called NFL, no free lunch theorem, meaning that we should adapt each and every machine and deep learning model to the particular task. Because machine learning, deep learning models have parameters which are not being adjusted during the training process, and those parameters are called as hyperparameters. And this is MP hard challenge because the search space is vast, so we used metaheuristics to adapt and to tune the hyperparameters for specific challenge. And now I'm going to try to be as brief as possible to show you some of the research which was published in state-of-the-art journals. So first we have a variable neighborhood search from LSTM, from theory to LSTM applications. So the first, the first is NeuroVNS. So we used VNS to optimize the long short-term memory for EEG anomaly detection. So as we all know, EEG is a non-invasive tool for recording brain electrolytic activity. But manual analysis is prone to errors, which is called also inter-observer variability. So the goal here is to detect anomalies like seizures, EEG signals, by using the long short-term memory, and long short-term memory model should be adapted for this specific challenge. So this is basically time series classification. So we took publicly available data sets from Kaggle as well as some other data sets. Okay, we use the VNS, variable neighborhood search metaheuristic, which is one of the oldest one and which is very well known. So they're using the core strategies like all other metaheuristics, which drives the process of exploitation exploration. So when testing the basic VNS, variable neighborhood search algorithms, we noticed some deficiencies, especially in the exploration. So we tried to improve these metaheuristics. In order to improve the exploration process of metaheuristics, we used the following strategies: chaotic elite learning, and we use the logistic map for diversity. Then we use the Levy flights, which enables the long jumps. So if the search process gets trapped in some of the suboptimal domains, then we can use Levy flights to make long jumps to go to some other promising region of the search space. And finally, we performed the hybridization with a well-known Firefly algorithm, which is known with its very good, outstanding exploitation capabilities. Okay, so we name our approach the VNS with dynamic strategy change, VNS-DS, and here is the pseudocode of this algorithm. I'm not going to, explain this. You have this in the paper which was published. So we applied this improved VNS with dynamic search strategy algorithm to LSTM hyperparameters tuning, where we tuned various LSTM hyperparameters like the learning rate, dropout rate, number of layers, epochs in training, number of neurons per layers, and so on for AIJ anomaly detection. So this is the flow chart of our proposed approach. Okay, so what did we do? We took the data set with 5 patients. So the patients A and B group of patients, they were completely healthy. The patients with group C and D had epilepsy, and the group D is the epilepsy with active seizure. So basically, we performed 3 types of experiments. First is simply binary classification to distinguish between the healthy and non-healthy patients. Second one is, again, the binary classification, but the data set in the second experiment was imbalanced. So it means that we should use a different error function, different fitness function, not just the error, for the imbalanced data sets. And we used, in this case, Cohen's-Kappa coefficient. Another, fitness function which is very good for imbalanced data set is MCC, Matthews correlation coefficient. But in this research, we saw that the Cohen-Kappa works better. And finally, in experiment 3, we used the multi-class classification, where we had healthy patients, patients with epilepsy, and patients with active epileptic seizures. And according to experimentation results, our VNS with dynamic strategy change performs the best, and the results were published in the state-of-the-art complex and intelligent systems journal, where I am associate editor, and this paper was published first with editor-in-chief Mario Koppen, which is very famous, and with my colleague Branislav Radomirovic, who is here present, who is also representative on Serbia for this AIJ event. Okay, next application is dynamic PSO, particle swarm optimization, advancing CNS optimization with diversity-aware PSO. So what did we do? So, as you know, the cybersecurity is very interesting, important area, because there are a lot of cyber threats and so on. So we named this application the MetaGuard. So CNN convolution neural networks enhanced intrusion detection system for IT metaverse security. So there is a problem with traditional intrusion detection systems in the realm of cybersecurity. They suffer from the high false positive rate. So that's why we should apply machine learning to make them more smarter. So what did we do? So, okay, I'm not going to use the slides for this. So basically, we created a 2-layer framework. In the first layer framework, we used the CNN, convolutional neural networks, which are good for working with images, but also they're good with textual data for extracting useful information from the textual data, like extracting the features. And then in the second layer, we basically replaced the final dense layer in the CNN architecture, which is used for classification, with some traditional baseline machine learning models like ADA boost and categorical boost for doing the classification itself. And again, we, in the both layers, layer 1, layer 2, we use this diversity-aware PSO, which is our improved version of the PSO algorithm to do the hyperparameters tuning. So basically, this research is really, rich of experiments. So again, we tested the basic PSO, particle swarm optimization algorithm, on standard benchmark set on the CEC functions, congressional evolutionary computation functions. which is the standard benchmarks for these types of problems. And we notice that the PSO emphasizes exploitation over exploration. So exploration should be improved. Again, we did it by using a lot of experiments. So in order to improve the basic PSO algorithm, we incorporated a few mechanisms. So first, we implemented the quasi-adaptive learning in the initial phase of population generation. Then we used the diversity monitoring to monitor the diversity of population by using the L1 norm. And finally, we use the dynamic update with the threshold. So what does it mean? It means that if diversity of population is below the threshold value, it means that we may have the situation of premature convergence of the whole population, which leads to poor results. And for this reason, we used this dynamic diversity update in dynamic threshold, and we measured the population diversity in each iteration by using the L1 norm. And again, our approach is named diversity adaptive PSO algorithm. Okay, here's the pseudocode. Again, I'm not going to explain this. You have this in the paper, which is published. Okay, so basically, yeah. Yeah, why? Okay, sorry. So, diversity-aware PSO optimizes CNN skipper parameters like learning rate, dropout, epochs, layers, neurons for IoT attack detection, metaverse security. So basically, again, the CNS was used in the first layer of the framework for extracting the features, while in the second layer, we used the categorical boosting and other traditional baseline machine learning methods for performing classification. Here is the flow chart of proposed framework. Okay, again, we use the famous CIS IoT 2023 dataset, which contains rich data about the cyber attacks for both the binary and multi-class classification. So we performed 6 experiments, 3 for the binary classification and 3 for the multi-class classification. And we used because this data set is highly disbalanced data set, we use the MCC, Matthews Correlation Coefficient, as the objective function. And according to experimental findings, our proposed PSO, modified PSO algorithm outperforms basic PSO, VNS, genetic, as well as other 8 state-of-the-art metaheuristics. So this is the distribution across 30 different runs of our optimizer. Okay, this is the convergence speed graph. This is the all versus stress performance and all one versus stress classification results. Here we can see the confusion matrix and precision recall curves. So this is the best CNN structure which was extracted in the first layer by metaheuristics. And again, in this CNN architecture, we replace the final dense layer with those baseline machine learning models to perform classification. This is the paper which was published in the journal Engineering Applications of Artificial Intelligence, which is very good. Okay, now we have application of the CryptoCast. So what did we do now? In the CryptoCast, we try to forecast the Bitcoin price by using the modified sine-cosine algorithm with variational mode decomposition for time series decomposition and long short-term memory. So as we all know, the forecasting of the prices of cryptos is very important. So for forecasting the price of the Bitcoin, we use a few features: S&P 500, VIX, Euro USD conversion rate, exchange rate, Great Britain pounds USD exchange rate, and the tweet volume. And since this is a time series which is very complex, which is non-stationary time series, we use the VMD, variational mode decomposition, to decompose the original signal. And then in the second layer, we use the long short-term memory and bidirectional long short-term memory to do the classification, to do the forecasting, sorry. Again, we devised the hybrid self-adaptive sine-cosine algorithm, which improves the basic sine-cosine algorithm. Here's the flowchart of our proposed methodology. So again, we notice that the basic Sine-Costal algorithm suffers from slow convergence and limited exploration in high-dimensional spaces. So that's the conclusion we drew by testing this on the Congress on Evolution Computation test functions. Again, we incorporated 3 modifications in the basic Sine-Costal algorithm to improve exploration. Again, I'm not going to talk about this. I don't have enough time, but you have everything in the paper which was published. This is the pseudocode. Okay, this is the best extracted long short-term memory, architecture. And again, finally, at the end, we applied the Shapley additive transformations, explainable AI technique to see which feature has the most influential impact on the outcome. And again, here's the root mean square error which was used for the fitness function. This is the SHAP diagram, and this is the paper which was published. Okay, now we also applied some kind of research for environmental sciences. So we applied hybrid metaheuristics for toluene behavior modeling. So as we all know, toluene is a neurotoxic aromatic hydrocarbon. It's a major volatile organic compound, or VOC, known as for its abundance. So what did we do here? We tried to, predict the amount of toluene in the air by using the extreme gradient boosting XGBoost tuned by the hybrid reptile search algorithm. So reptile search algorithm is another nature-inspired metaheuristics. And again, by testing this on the standard sets functions, we observed some deficiencies, and we tried to improve this. So we tried to improve the exploitation of the basic RSI algorithm by hybridizing this with the Firefly algorithm for better optimization. Here is the pseudocode of our research. Okay, we use the data set for the 2 years from the different measurement stations in Pančevo in Serbia. Okay, we can see convergence graphs, we can see the dispersion of results by using the box plots, diagrams, and swarm diagrams. Here is the comparative analysis in terms of the fitness function, which was the classification, which was the error rate, and the best values are marked with bold. As we can see, our model is the best. Okay, here are the SHAP diagrams. So we perform clustering by using the UMAP based on the SHAP values. Okay, this is the published paper. Then we use the RespiTune, PSO-Tune CNN for respiratory classification. So what is this all about? So we have a few audio signals for patients with different respiratory conditions. And we converted the audio signals into the images by using the MEL spectrograms. So basically, we converted the audios to images. And then again, we use the 2-layer approach. In the first layer, we use the CNN to extract the features from images. In the second layer, we use standard optimizers to perform classification. Okay, again, we use the Matthews correlation coefficient as the fitness function because it's good for the imbalanced data sets. And we use the metaheuristics to tune this layer 1, layer 2 model. The metaheuristics which we used is known as the genetic diversity guided PSO, and it achieved 97.8% accuracy with balanced precision recall for both healthy and ill subjects. Okay, this is the best extracted CNN layer, not layer, but structure, sorry. Okay. This is different types of visualization, like all versus one, rest versus one, precision recall curves, and so on. Okay, in the layer 2 framework, when we applied CNN for extracting the features from the images, we used the ADA boost, adaptive boosting, for performing classification. And in both layers of our proposed framework, layer 1, layer 2, our method, genetic diversity guided PSO algorithm, remained the best optimizer. And this model performed accuracy of over about 79%, which was very good. And this is a very practical medical application. Okay, this is again the best extracted CNN structure from the first layer. And these are the key findings. As you can see from the results, our method performs the best. This is the published paper, so if you want, I can share the papers with you. Then we have AgriPredict, Metaheuristics optimized weight agnostic neural network for crop yield prediction. So crop yield prediction is very important, thing in the agriculture and farming. So in this research, we use the two data sets, one the crop yield data set and one blueberry prediction data set. But here, in this research, we used lightweight networks which do not require extensive training. These networks are called the weight agnostic neural networks. You may see a lot about this in the literature. So again, we devised the two-layer framework. In the first layer of this framework, we try to optimize the weight agnostic neural networks architecture. And in the second level of the framework, we try to optimize the weights of this. So we applied the reptile search algorithm again, but improved version of this. So we call this algorithm the multi-swarm RSA algorithm, where the basic reptile search algorithm suffers from poor exploitation as well as exploration. So that's why we combine the RSA algorithm with the Firefly algorithm and with the ABC, artificial bee colony algorithm. The Firefly algorithm devised by my co-mentor or my PhD students from the Cambridge University, Xi Yang, exhibits a very good exploitation, while the ABC algorithm devised by Karaboga and Bastuk exhibit very good exploration. So that's why in this multi-swarm approach, we combined basic RSA algorithm with ABC and Firefly. Okay, this is the pseudocode and algorithm, but again, you may look this into my research. So again, as I mentioned, we use the two-layer approach, and this is the flow chart of our approach, as you can see on this slide. Okay, and according to experimental findings for the blueberry and crop yield data set, our approach obtained the lowest mean square error and R2, coefficient of determination. And this is the published paper in the very, very esteemed journal called Narrow Computing and Applications, published by the Springer publisher. Then we also have another application which is called All Forecast. So in this All Forecast application, we tried to predict the crude oil prices by using the multi-headed recurrent neural network. So what is it about? So predicting crude oil prices is very important. So we used several different features in order to predict the crude oil price. And we use this multi-headed recurrent neural network. So it means that for each network head, we enter the input, which is one feature. And then we use the self-attention layer, like in transformers, to aggregate the outputs of different heads. And finally, we got the output. And according to findings, this is a very promising approach. Again, for tuning this multi-headed recurrent neural network model, we use the variable neighborhood search algorithm, but in its upgraded form. So we use the diversity-oriented VNS algorithm. This is the proposed pseudocode, as you can see. And we managed to obtain the best results. Again, since I don't have enough time, I'm going to go fast. You can see everything in my research. I can share the papers with you if you want. Okay, then we went with optimizing plant disease detection. I'm going to be very fast. So basically, we got images from the apples, leaf of apples, with 7 types of diseases. And we use, again, two-layer approach with convolutional neural networks, and the data set was highly disbalanced. So we tried to predict which disease the apple leaf has. And then we used the model distillation and tiny machine learning framework to condense the model. So we then put this model on ESP32 chip and Arduino. And then we tried also to embed this on the drone, so the drone can fly over the leaves of apples and to detect which apple has which disease and to put pesticides on this. Okay. Now, I also, at the end of this presentation, want to emphasize that there are a lot of different applications and fusions between metaheuristics and machine deep learning, which is state-of-the-art. And this was also the topic of the Foresight session. So, first of all, we can use this fusion approach between metaheuristics and transformers, diffusion models, and large language models. So, for example, we can use efficiently metaheuristics to tune diffusion models, and diffusion models are the future of AI, and they're changing the foundation of generative AI, definitely. There are many real-world use cases. Okay. Then we can use metaheuristics along with federated learning. This is another paradigm which is very important. In federated learning, we can train our models without exposing the private data, which is very, very important. And now, one of the most important challenges in machine learning is the scarcity of the data. We simply do not have enough data. And we have a lot of private data which cannot be exposed publicly. So that's why we can use federated learning. It means that the models are trained locally, and then only the weights of the models and architecture are being updated to the central component without exposing the private data. So federated learning is very good paradigm. So in the federated learning, we can use metaheuristics for, optimization, aggregation for privacy and efficiency. And the focus is decentralized learning in real-world settings. And there are many approaches in this. Then we also can use metaheuristics along with federated learning for the security enhancements, which is also very good and promising research field. We haven't performed research in this area, but we are working on this. This is very, very promising. And this has a profound real-world impact like in the healthcare, smart cities industry. And let's see the future perspectives of metaheuristics development. So, I should emphasize that there is a high criticism of the nature-inspired metaheuristics. Because, there are more than 300 nature-inspired metaheuristics these days published in scientific papers. But basically, in the nutshell, all those metaheuristics are combining exploitation and exploration equations from the well-known metaheuristics like variation neighborhood search, particle swarm optimization, genetic algorithm. So that's why we are dealing with those baseline optimizers, because all those other nature-inspired solutions, are simply using the components of the previous ones. So this criticism is on the place, and I'm fond of this. Then we also have emerging technologies like the quantum-inspired metaheuristics, which uses some principles from the quantum computations, like the superposition. And each individual in population is called a cubic. It's, again, the term which was inherited from the, quantum-inspired computing. Then we have, when we work with metaheuristics, we have sustainability goal. So we want to establish a green metaheuristics, carbon neutral computation, and in order to achieve this approach would be to make so-called efficient algorithm design. Okay, then there are a lot of research opportunities like self-adaptive algorithms with self-reflected AI, with AI feedback. So it means that we are using AI systems to improve themselves without human control, which is really good. Then the vision ahead is that metaheuristics by the 2030 are going to be more adaptive, more stable, and we are going to have more trust in metaheuristics and in general in AI. And finally, we have the paradigm, which is again one of the focus of this Foresight session that we are having here. The multi-agent systems are autonomous agents which are working together in some kind of collaborative tasks. And multi-agent systems are very important in the AI. It's the novel field. And metaheuristics can optimize coordination and decisions of the multi-agent systems. And the focus here is decentralized dynamic environments. So I can talk a lot about this, but again, I already, took all my time, so sorry for this. So, okay, on this slide you can see that how metaheuristics can be applied to multi-agent systems. Also, when you talk about multi-agent system metaheuristics, they have profound application like in robotics, multi-robot exploration with, let's say, particle swarm optimization algorithm. Then we have application in the energy, like smart grid with multi-agent systems. And of course, in transportation, we can use the multi-agent systems along with metaheuristics, for example, for traffic scheduling. Then the multi-vision of the metaheuristics is so-called, we have adaptive dynamics. So metaheuristics, according to our findings and according to the vision of other researchers, can cut the cost of implementing multi-agent systems as well as other solutions by even 30%, because they're very efficient. They perform very fast computations. They, generate approximate, not exact solution. So we can reduce the costs, but also we can have profound effect of environment. Okay, future potential, again, by using metaheuristics with multi-agent systems as well as other profound technologies like diffusion models is profound. And basically, that's it. Okay, I apologize for, going over my time. I had a big presentation. Okay, so I had few researchers here shown in my presentation. If you want to know more about this, I can share my papers, okay? And everything. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Nebojša, Bačanin-Džakula.
Nebojša, Bačanin-Džakula. A round of applause.
Presentation for your performance and for sharing with us your achievements. Еще раз ваши аплодисменты. Громко, громко, громко.
Round of applause again. This is the third day of the conference.